married for 13 years and I cannot believe how fast that time went by. But this year marks 13 years of marriage, and I wanted to share with you 13 things that I learned in those past 13 years about marriage and what it's like and how beautiful it actually is. So let's dive in right away. Before we dive into it though, let me reintroduce myself real quick. My name is Stephanie, I'm a wife and I'm a mother to 3 amazing children, and I love being at home. I'm a true homebody. I love being at home. I love taking care of the home, and that is something that I really love to share on this channel as well. So if you love Christian homemaking and motherhood and everything that has to do with that, I would love to have you here as a subscriber. But let's start and let's dive into the 13 things that I learned in the last 13 years. Okay, so the first one is life is way more fun when you do it together instead of doing it by yourself. Now, truth be told, I was 18 when I met my husband and I was 20 when I got married to him. So I didn't do a lot of life without him, but nonetheless, I really love being able to do things with him and to have somebody next to me and to just share the experience with him. So life is just way more fun when you do it with someone you love. Next up, marriage takes work. And I did know this when I got married, but a lot of times we feel like marriage is one big, nice bubble and it's gonna be all fun and rainbows and butterflies. And even though I still have butterflies when I see my husband, it still takes a lot of work. And being married and loving someone is not something that is gonna just happen. You need to spend time together. You need to get to know each other, and you need to be able to communicate and to do things together. So even though you might love somebody when you get married, it actually gets way more fun over time, which is another point. But it gets more fun over time because you put all the work into your marriage. So marriage does take a lot of work, but the work that you put into it is nothing compared to what you get out of it. Number 3, we are very different, and those differences are actually very good. Now, for example, my husband is very tidy, and when I was younger, I was not. So those were very different backgrounds, so to speak, when we got into marriage. But I have learned to become tidy and to become organized, and he has learned to let some things go and to not worry as much about everything being so tidy. And that is just fun. I love that we are so different and we grow closer together every single year, and it is just, it's so fun to do this together. And that actually brings me to number 4, and that is you grow closer together. And that is so fun. I love seeing where we were 13 years ago and where we are now, and thinking about what we did back then and what we do now and how different our relationship is and how different our life is. And it's just really fun to see how much you grew closer together and how much more alike you have become in certain areas. I know what my husband will think about certain topics, and that is just really fun that you really know the other person very, very well. And that is actually the 5th point. You get to know your spouse so much better every single year. And it's so much fun to learn more about your husband and what does he love? What does he like to do? What is his favorite food? You know, all those simple things even that you don't necessarily always talk about during your dating time. Those are some fun things that you get to learn over time. And it's just so fun that I get to surprise him with some random thing that I know that he loves just because I know him so well. And it's just so fun to grow closer together and to get to know him way better every single year. Now, number 6 is kind of a hard one for some women, and that is men are just better at certain things than we are. And that is okay. My husband can just do certain things better than I can do them, and that's okay. He was made in a certain way, and he has gifts and talents that I don't have. So he can do certain things better than I can do. And I am very okay with being dependent on my husband. We are one. I belong to him, he belongs to me, and we are just one person basically. And there are certain things that he does better. There are certain things that I do better. I don't have to ask him to cook every single night because that is not going to be very successful. So those are things that I'm better at. And then there are certain things that he's better at. And that is just, it's fun. It's fun to know that you both have your certain talents and together you are one and you bring the perfect thing to the table and you are the perfect match. And it's just really fun to learn that you're very different and that is actually fun. And that actually is my number 7 as well. And I wrote it down as a separate point because it is important. And that is that I don't ever want to be able to be independent from my husband. God created marriage in a way that 2 people become one. So if you take one of those away, you're just half. You need the other person. You're one together. So he needs me, I need him, and together we become the perfect couple. Well, not perfect couple, but you know what I mean. Together we are one. And that is how God created it. So I don't ever want to be independent from him, because then I'm missing my other half. I'm not independent. Yes, I can do certain things by myself. Of course I can. But I want to be dependent on him, because he needs me, I need him, and together we are one. Let's move on to number 8, and that is that date nights are extremely important. And we have learned over the years that date nights don't have to be expensive times where you go outside, you have dinner at a fancy restaurant, you do certain things, you go away for a weekend. Yes, those are fun things to do, and definitely do them if you have the time and the money to do it. But we have had many years where we just couldn't do that. And we have made the most of it. We have spent our date nights at home. We put the kids to bed, and then we turn on a fun movie. I make some popcorn. We create a fun bed. We camp indoors. Whatever it is, we can make date night fun at home. And the most important thing for me is not necessarily what you do during date night, but it's more about spending time with your spouse and intentionally being with him and making sure that I listen to him, that we talk, that we have fun together, that we are just spending time together. And it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be expensive, it just needs to be time together. And that is just extremely important. So if you are in a season where you cannot afford to go outside, you cannot afford to have babysitters or whatever, I feel you. We are in the same position, but it doesn't mean that you can't have date nights. Make the most of it at home and just make it fun in the season you're in, because it is extremely important to keep having those date nights. It's because it is important to have that one-on-one time with your husband and to talk about different topics than what you would do over dinner. Next up, the wedding day is fun, but the years after that are way better. And our wedding day was really fun. Looking back, we would do a lot of things very different, but that's okay. But the wedding day was really fun. I loved wearing the nice dress and being able to just have an entire day focusing on our marriage and the start of something new. But the years after that are so much better. And that has everything to do with my previous points, that you get to know each other more, you grow closer together. Those are all so much more important than just the wedding day itself. Of course, you have to enjoy your wedding day. Yes, you can totally go nuts if you have the ability to do so. But it doesn't matter what your wedding day looks like. It matters what your marriage is going to look like. And that is very different than just your wedding day. So focus on the marriage and not necessarily only on your wedding day. Because like I said, it's a fun day, but it's about the years that come after it and not the day itself. Number 10 is something that I actually see a lot when people talk about marriage and becoming a mother. And that is that they are afraid when they become mothers that their marriage is going to suffer from it, or that they will lose themselves actually in their role as a mother. And I really want to encourage you, don't do that. You're a mother, but you're also a wife. So don't put your children always in front of your husband. He is important. You need to spend time with him. You are also a wife to your husband, and don't forget your husband while you're having children. And that is extremely important. I've seen it over and over again, where moms are so focused on their children that they forget that there's actually a person sitting right next to them that they chose, that they have to spend the rest of their lives with. So make sure you actually keep learning about each other and you keep spending time together. Now, number 11, it's really fun to learn about things that your husband loves. And I learned this firsthand because I am not very much into music. Yes, I love listening to music, but I'm not really musical myself, if you know what I mean. So I had to learn this from my husband, and he loves listening to music. He loves all types of speakers and subwoofers and everything that has to do with music. He knows his thing about it. And it's really fun to actually hear him talk about his passion and to really learn, okay, so that is how sound works, or that is what happens when we do this or that. And it's really fun to actually learn more about that. And he has done the same with me. I used to ride horses back when I was younger, and he has done the same with me. He has constantly asked me when we were in our beginning stages of dating, when I still rode horses, he asked me constantly, okay, why do you do this? And how do you do that? And it's just fun to talk about each other's hobbies and about each other's interests, even though you might think that it's not something you like, because let me tell you, I'm actually loving music way more now than I did when I was younger because I learned so many things from him. Now, number 12 is kind of a personal one, but I love being at home with my husband, and it's my favorite thing in the world. Now, this is obviously not true for everybody. A lot of people are very extroverted and they want to go outside and want to spend time with friends and they want to do fun things. I am just very much a homebody. I love being at home. My husband is a homebody. So we just love being at home and just being together and doing fun things as a family and as a couple. So I really never thought that that was going to happen, but you make me the happiest person in the world to just be at home with my family. And then lastly, the most important one is that a marriage with Christ at the center is the biggest blessing that you can have. So always make sure that Christ is at the center, that God is the middle of your marriage, and that whatever you do, whatever big decisions you make, or just talking about life, always make sure that God is at the center. So pray together, read your Bible together, go to a church, go to counseling if you need to, Christian counseling if you need to, but make sure that God is always at the center because He is the one that created marriage. There's nobody that knows more about marriage than God does. So whatever you face in your marriage, He is the only one that can really help you. So make sure that Christ is at the center of your marriage, and it will definitely be a blessing. Now, those are 13 things that I learned in the last 13 years, and I'm very sure that there are many more things that I'm going to learn over the next couple of years, and I'm very excited to see what the next few years are going to bring, and I cannot wait to see what God has in store for us as a family. But I really wanted to encourage you that marriage is just a beautiful gift. It's fun, it is beautiful, and I really want to encourage you to see it as that and to invest in your marriage, because there's nothing more important than having a good, solid marriage and a good, solid family culture. So make sure you spend a lot of time invested in your husband, in your family, and in your home. Now, with that being said, thank you so much for being here today. Don't forget to subscribe, and I would love to see you in my next video.